Hey everybody, I'm just trying to set up the live stream. Give me a minute. Oh, there we go.
I'm making this quick video because it has been...
Give me a sec, guys. I'm just trying to get the Discord going. There we go. Nope. Nope. Computer is doing whatever it wants to do. Okay. Audio check. Audio working? I don't think so. Hello? Oh, there we go. Okay, audio's working. Alright. How's everybody doing today? I don't know what my camera is doing. It kept falling. All right, so I really don't have a set subject today. I haven't live streamed in a while because I had a really rough couple months. I don't know if you guys want to hear about it, just ask. But I really wasn't in the mood to do live streaming, and I don't know. I was a little stressed out. So yesterday I was going to be doing a live stream, but then my son ended up breaking his arm. That was fun. Hey, what's going on, fireworks? Yeah, so my son broke his arm. He, which is crazy. Over the weekend, he was running his quad. He crashed the quad a couple times. He was perfectly fine. He was spotless. And then he goes and does a cartwheel at school, and then shatters his arm in 2 places. So I had to rush to the hospital. I wanted to do a live stream yesterday morning. I decided this week I just wanted to tear the Band-Aid to do a live stream just because I haven't done them in a while, and I kept telling myself I was going to do them, and then I kept getting busy. So the easiest way to do it is just do it. So that's what today is. That's why it was short notice, unfortunately. So what I decided to do this time around is I have he's miserable right now. He's sitting in front of the computer in front of the TV watching DuckTales. He pretty much watched every single episode of DuckTales that you can imagine. I even asked him this morning how many times you've seen each episode. He couldn't even answer the question. He's like, I've seen too many. I can't even tell you. The new DuckTales is really funny, actually. Not to get on the subject of cartoons, but the new DuckTales is pretty good. Sorry, I'm just trying to turn on my... It's hot. Yeah, I hope I'm not too boring today. I'm just tired. But, So, fireworks, you know that I have my live stream subjects in the Discord server, so I'll probably read off some of those. I thought that was a good idea because having the questions in front of me and sort of knowing what people were talking about ahead of time is a little easier because doing this on the fly with everyone is a little difficult, so trying to come up with answers to stuff sometimes is hard. But you know what I forgot to do is actually check to where I started these live stream options. Let me see here. I have to find the live stream questions. Let's see, phenomenal series. Yeah, I really, you know what's good about the series is kids only know the voices, but when you actually pay attention to what actors are in the show, the actors make the series so much better. That happened to me a lot too. You know what else I watched that's funny that I didn't realize was something that was going to be good was Gumball. And you know, this is definitely dad's talking, but Gumball, it's a cartoon where half of it's like 3D graphics. No, it's like one part 3D graphics, one part traditional cartooning, and then it's real life all mixed together. So in one scene, you're seeing a cartoon walk in a real classroom with 3D characters walking behind them, and then all the jokes are like a mix of like adult and kid stuff. So it's actually kind of fun to watch, and it cracks me up sometimes too. Actually, I can't find my. Oh, here's mine. Here we go. Yeah, see, only dads would know about that series, I think. I know my wife, she's, we're in our 30. Well, I'm 40 and she's like 30, I don't know, 37, 38. She's always watching like Family Guy and The Simpsons. Those are what we grew up with. But the kids exposed me to like really fun cartoons that I would never ever watch. Oh, we also watch, my wife and I watch Rick and Morty. That's pretty fun too. Rick and Morty's great. The only problem is, like if I put on, I think it's on Comedy Central or maybe USA. I forget what it is, right? Whatever channel has Rick and Morty. Every time it's on, it's like the same 5 episodes, which drives me crazy. But this year they actually had a new season, so it's like the same few episodes of the new season. But every once in a while, I'll catch a new one, and then the show cracks me up. I don't know how much of a delay there is between me and the live stream. Hold on here. That's pretty fun too. Rick and Morty's great. The only problem. Oh, I'm like 10 minutes, 10 seconds behind. I don't know. All right, so I guess this time around, I mean, there's a lot of questions. I know I do a lot of car stuff, and I don't know how many people are going to be on this early, but a lot of people do come on and watch the live stream later too. So, so Joe, you know that I have the Discord server, and what I did was throw just questions up, and then people ask me questions too. So I have so much on here that I'm not going to get to all of it. But I'll read some stuff, and if anybody has any questions, just ask, and then I'll answer. I don't even know how long I'm gonna live stream today. I just felt like doing it because I haven't done it in so long. But I think I put on here, movies that we thought were a part or wish had a part two. Let's see. What are some of the movies? Oh, Zootopia was one of them. That was a good movie. I like the music in it. Matchstick Men, Fireworks. You put up Matchstick Men, so I haven't seen Matchstick Men in so long. I forget what it was even about actually. Uh, for me, I had to really think about that. I don't know. I don't know what my favorite. Oh, I think I said Uncle. I really like spy movies, and I thought Uncle was really good. Uncle was it was a great spy movie. I think it was set in the 30s or 40s or something like that with Henry Cavill and Army Hammer. They never did a part two. I don't know how true this is, but I heard Army Hammer. Oh, I don't even know if I could say it on a live stream, but I heard Army Hammer did something bad. I don't want to repeat it, but just Google it, and you'll see probably why part two is never made, or at least maybe part two will be made without Army Hammer. Um, and what else? Oh, I went on to say coronavirus destroyed any hopes of a lot of movies having a part two or coming out. Yeah, that is true. Coronavirus definitely. You know what I notice now? I love going to the movies, but for some reason this year it's like, every time movies come out, you always get your blockbusters. So you have like one or two amazing movies, and you have a few like lackluster 50-50 movies, and then you get these like most of the time throughout the year. Let's say 10 movies come out, 7 of them are good. I feel like this year it's like if 10 movies come out, like one is good. Nicolas Cage is a grifter with. Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah, I forgot he was even in that movie, so I was thinking of a different movie. Oh, speaking of Nicolas Cage, there is a movie that came out that I wanted to watch, but I missed. Um, I think it was a movie about him where some rich guy hires him to hang out with him. It looked really funny. I think it was called My Name Is Nick Cage or something like that. That's one I want to check out. Nicolas Cage sort of, I don't know, became very eccentric, and his roles have been really weird, and I think lately he's been trying to just have fun, which is great. Hey, what's going on, Jeff? Let's see. Yeah, so every day I would just like put out a subject of the day, and I thought it would be fun. Oh, I had one. Who was a better character, Owen Grady from Jurassic Park or Indiana Jones? Harrison Ford. My, I had an argument with my 7-year-old about this. Actually, he's 8. So I had an argument with my 8-year-old about this, and he of course loves Chris Pratt, who seems to be modeled after Indiana Jones. But I'm a huge Indiana Jones fan. But I can definitely tell you this: because of that argument, he watched all of the Indiana Jones movies with me, minus the fourth one, and he absolutely loves Indiana Jones now. He thinks they're the greatest movies. So I win, I think. Um, yeah, we won't watch the fourth one just because. Well, the fourth Indiana Jones, if you watch 75% of the movie and just don't watch the ending, I think it's a decent movie. Let's see. Yeah, Hunter's okay. He shattered. You guys may have seen, if you're in the Discord, you saw the break, but it was these two bones. Basically, he shattered them in half, and his arm was bent like a U shape. It was so bad. But let's see. He's likely to take any role. Yeah, that's true. Nicholas Cage. See, Nicholas Cage. When an actor gets to a certain point, they have so much money that they can basically fund whatever things they want to do, whatever roles they want. But I feel like Nicolas Cage, I don't know how, I don't know, it seems like he sort of became broke or something, and then he's just taking what he can versus doing like projects that he likes. I know the last movie he was in that I actually couldn't wait to see was Ghost Rider 2. And I know if you watch any of the MCU movies, Ghost Rider 2 just doesn't, it's not as enjoyable as like any other Marvel movie. But as far as a Ghost Rider movie goes, I loved it, even though it does have some plot holes and stuff. I did really enjoy the movie. Um, oh, is that on my screen or on the wall? Oh, I got a spot on my screen. So I did enjoy that movie, even though a lot of people didn't. I loved it, especially since he was riding a VMAX in that movie. But that was like the last thing I remember being excited to see him in. Um, let's see, Indiana Jones. Oh, here we go. I had another topic I thought was fun. Favorite video game. I have a lot over the years. Let's see. I like Metal Gear Solid. For me, Metal Gear Solid has a really good story. Um, well, so when Metal Gear Solid first came out, it was the first of its kind. So it doesn't matter what storyline it had. It was the first type of game like that. So it could have been about cooking, but the graphics that it had, the characters it had, even the oddball characters, like I don't know, and it was the first kind of game that I ever played where you felt like you were sucked into a movie and you were controlling the movie, and I really enjoyed it. Uh, Truck World. I don't know if I know you, or I don't know if you changed your name. How's it going? So yeah, so Metal Gear Solid, like it was the first experience I had, and we're talking like probably when I was 10 that game first came out back on like PlayStation 1. So then since then there's been 4 or 5 of them, and it sort of lost its way because the creator, a lot of times he was angry, but the creator would really do crazy things. Like Part 2 didn't even have the main character in it. He was actually a secondary character, and they introduced a new main character, and he did that on purpose because he was being political. I don't know, whatever. It should have just been based on the story and not so much getting revenge on people. Hey, what's up, Matthew? How are you? Yes, it is about vehicles. If you want to talk about vehicles, ask a question. But I'm talking about everything actually. Um, we can talk about cars if you guys want. I'm just bringing up video games because it's in my Discord. Let's see. And yes, I did change my name. Oh, Dirty Max. How's it going? Okay. I didn't realize who you were at first. Yeah, pick a subject if you want to talk about something. I know you and I were talking about like you were possibly wanting to build a diesel Silverado. I think you're looking for your first vehicle. If that's who I think it is. You I think considering the price of diesel trucks right now, um, even a 20-year-old diesel powered truck seems to be 3 times the price it should be right now. It's crazy what prices are like. Uh, yeah, I recommended to you maybe trying to find like you could probably find like $1,000 Silverado with like no engine and trans, or at least with a blown engine and trans, and then you can get a diesel engine from anything, and a transmission that goes with it, and a rear axle, and then you could basically probably build your own diesel truck. I would say for a $5,000 budget. That again, it depends on where you live. I mean, if you live in like California, it's probably impossible to find diesel stuff. But if you live in like Wisconsin, you could probably find it. You could probably throw a rock and hit a diesel engine that's for sale. And you work on a farm too, which is pretty cool. Sorry guys, I got to put some socks on or something. My feet are freezing. Yeah, that's a pretty cool experience living on a farm, or at least working on a farm, not living on a farm. But I could definitely see why you want a. I could definitely see why you want a diesel. You pretty much need it for work. You might be able to get your hands on a pretty. I know they made. I want to say in the early 2000s. I think there was late 90s. I think there was a V8 version of the Silverado. I think it's like a 454 engine. So it probably only has like 200 horsepower, but it has like, I think it's like 450 foot-pounds of torque or something like that. It's not a bad truck for a gas engine. What's up, Travis? Yeah, I'm pretty much probably not going to read most of the stuff you say. Last time I did that, I got demonetized. Thanks. Yeah, if you guys want to talk about car stuff, I'll keep it about cars. I mean, I have these, I have my Discord server where I literally like to talk about everything. I mean, my channel is called Dave's World because I have a lot of hobbies, but I thought about changing the channel to just maybe Super Cruises or something, which I went back and forth with a few friends. Fireworks is one of them. He basically said not to. The reason it was called Dave's World is because I like, I know a lot about finance. I know a lot about real estate. I kind of thought my YouTube side of things was going to be geared towards a lot of my hobbies. But in order to pay the bills, you guys know that I focus on cruise stuff because I make cruise parts. So I have to be able to pay the bills in order to do this for a living. If I can't, I'm not a merchandise guy, so I'm not good at like making hats and clothing, but I am good at building custom parts for cars. So the Cruze is definitely something I love. And now I have two Cruzes. I have a Generation 1 and I have a Generation 2. So I'm going to have a lot of cool stuff coming out for both of them. Right now, you guys have not seen the end of the methanol injection series because I'm not there yet. But the third video for my methanol injection series is going to be coming out next week. I was going to do it this week, but I decided to live stream instead. Yeah, I'm at the point too where so my methanol injection system that I've been building for the Cruze, I have it designed now to where, let's say you decide, you know what, I'm gonna buy it for my Cruze, put it on the car. It produces really good cooling, it produces really good power. You get really good, like I have a couple testers, so the feedback has been, in their mind it's like having nitrous because they really feel a huge difference just adding the methanol. But my system's 100% methanol. That's why it produces so much power. And it's a very high-end system. So let's say, down the road, hey, I want to get rid of my Cruze, but it sucks I put this expensive system in the car. Well, that whole system can actually be taken out of the Cruze and put into another car. So let's say, for example, a friend of mine just totaled their car. If he still had the methanol system, which he didn't have a methanol system, but let's say he did, he could take the whole system out, and then let's say he wants to go buy a Honda Civic, which is also turbocharged. Well, guess what? We can just get that system installed in the Honda. I have it set up to where it has key parts that just need to have boost and power and ground, and it'll work. As long as you have a tank that it can siphon methanol out of, it'll work. So that's what I've been working on. I've been working on making it. I don't know what the word is. Like it's basically set up for a Cruze, but it will work in other vehicles. Like Truck World, you want a diesel. Well, methanol is amazing on turbo diesel engines. So if you wanted a 100% methanol system and you can't find something for your truck, my system will work on your truck. I'll just have to adapt a few things here and there that are a little different. Like maybe a longer fuel line or maybe a shorter fuel line. Maybe the vacuum line needs to be twice as long, or the boost line, and that's really it. So I started doing stuff like that for the cars, especially since I built the system for a Generation 2 Cruze, but I also have a Generation 1 I'm working on. Well, guess what? I figured out how to make that exact system work on a Generation 1. So if somebody calls me and says, hey, I want this for a 2010 Cruze or a 2019 Cruze, it'll fit. I might just have to tweak a few things here or there. But that's what the video series is for. I've been showing everybody why I'm doing it and the power it's going to make. And I've been waiting for, I didn't tell anybody this yet, but So the dyno place I go to, they are nervous about the EPA. They don't want any media whatsoever. They won't let me film their name. They won't let me film the car. Well, I'm lucky enough I could even get a camera in the dyno room, but they don't want any of their graphics for the company name in the video. Um, so I'm waiting to get. I have a friend who's got a Corvette shop, or two friends. They're partners, and they have a Corvette place that they do dyno work at. And we're just waiting to see if I can get that car there because they have a hub-driven dyno. So it's going to be cool to see a Cruze on a hub-driven dyno, but on top of that, I could actually be in the room and film the car, and I can get the horsepower off the computer while it's happening. So that's what I'm going to try and do. Hopefully we can get the car in. Let's see, Augustin. Hopefully I said your name right. If I didn't, my apologies. Is the meth injection system activated by a button? It has its own computer. So, so the way I have the system set up is there's three controls. One is you can set the desired boost that you want the methanol to start pumping. Okay, it ramps in slow. You don't want it to ramp in hard. You want it to ramp in slow. So you set the turn on. Then you set the desired like full speed basically. Once you set those, there's another controller in the car that you can adjust. So so basically it's going to turn on based on your boost. So let's say your car has 30 pounds of boost. You want methanol to kick in at about 20 pounds of boost. The system can be set for 20 pounds of boost. It can be set to turn on at 20. It could set the ramp in fully by like 22, 23. And then I have another controller that you can adjust how aggressive or I don't know what the other word is. Basically speed up the pump or slow down the pump. How aggressive you want the pump to be on the fly. So you can adjust your air fuel ratio on the fly. So the methanol will always go in where you want, but you can adjust how much you want on the fly. And it'll do it once you set everything. Like once you make that initial adjustment, you can just leave it alone, and it will only kick in. I have it set up so it will only really kick in when it sees the boost that you want it set at, and that's it. You don't even have to think about it. And if you run out of methanol while you're driving, guess what? Um, there's a light that'll come on and tell you, and it'll come on if you put it in the right spot. It'll come on when you have basically a good 20, 30 miles before you're on empty, and then you can go to like AutoZone and pick up methanol, which is great because you can get it anywhere. So that's how I have the system set up now, which is why I wanted the 100% meth. Let's see, does methanol and nitrous work together? Methanol and nitrous do work together, but it's all in the tuner. So for example, all right, so not to go on a whole long explanation about nitrous. So nitrous is a very, very volatile, cold, it could be wet or dry gas. Um, and everyone only really knows about nitrous, what they see in the movies, and then like the shot you can buy. So for example, let's say you have a 200 horsepower car, right? Well, I could buy a 300 shot of nitrous and quote unquote call it a 500 horsepower car if I want. But it's the way it burns. Like you can't just go put that in a car and expect to have 500 horsepower and the car's gonna be fine. You have to tune for it. So you should really have a system that is set up so the car can safely use the nitrous. So you're not going to want to do 300, right? You might want to start with like a 25 shot, which is 25 horsepower. But while it's activated, you also have to watch your air fuel ratio. The computer has to know it's being overly fueled. Um, and then at the same time, if you're running methanol sort of does the same thing, but it's not as volatile. So it's hard to explain, but there's without a visual, a little bit of nitrous might be equal to like a lot of methanol if your car's tuned incorrectly. Can you do it together? Yes. You just need to have a tuner that knows what they're doing. And if you're going to use a tuner that's going to tune them together, make sure you're using a tuner that has like their own race team or something. You don't want to just get somebody who's got a laptop who does people favors. Like they probably have not tuned for nitrous before. You want to find a guy that actually tunes cars for nitrous and methanol. That would be like Cletus McFarland would be a great example. He has, I think he has like 5 or 6 cars that run 100% meth. They don't even run gas. They just run all methanol. And then he has, I know he has a truck. What's it called? Oh, the Dale truck. It's his Dale Earnhardt truck. that thing runs on nitrous. So he has a naturally aspirated engine. I believe it does run on, it runs definitely on nitrous, and I think it also does methanol. I just don't know what the ratio is that he does, but you can do both. But the engine needs to be set up for it, and the tuning needs to be set up for it. Because here's one thing you don't want to happen: you don't want to use too big of a shot of nitrous. You don't want to use too much methanol, and then you definitely don't want your air-fuel ratio to be like an 8-to-1, because you'll end up washing down your cylinders, and you can actually blow the bottom end out of an engine. So you really need to be careful. Let's see. The light is critical, so it doesn't kill the pump. Yeah. Well, so my system has two lights. It has one light that'll turn on red first, and then what we'll do is let you know the methanol starting, and then it'll turn green when the pump is at full speed. And then the other light will let you know, hey, dummy, you're out of methanol. But if you put the level switch in the right spot, you're not out. It's just telling you you're out. Put it in the right spot so you know that you still have methanol in there, but you're running low. Now, if you have no low light, what will happen is, let's say your car is tuned to rely on methanol. So there's some cars out there, let's say with methanol on, you're at like an 11-to-1 air-fuel ratio. But when the methanol shuts down because you don't have any, that car might hit 14-to-1 air-fuel ratio. That is so lean that in one, if you're like driving through the canyons and you're pushing your car to red line and you're having fun and then you're out of methanol and don't know it, you can blow an engine right away. So that's why you need to that's why you need those lights. You need to know what's going on, or you're going to damage your engine. So that's why I have all those in there. Let's see. Augustin, what would you do? Wait, I'm sorry. What would you have to do? Would you have to do anything to spark plugs, like gap them differently? Not. Okay, so if you're in a situation where you need methanol, you're probably also in a situation where you're getting more power out of your car. So you definitely want a different spark plug gap. So I used to tell people like 31,000, so it would be like 0.031, like 30, well, on a Cruze anyway, like 31 thousandths of an inch is what I used to gap my car to. And then going back and forth with Jerry, we started realizing the gap had to be smaller. So I kept testing different gaps, and I found that my car was happiest at like a 0.023, 0.024. I think that's the gap I used. It's in one of my videos. The reason you want that is, okay, so with methanol, if you're just adding methanol to a stock car, you'll get better cooling, you'll get more power, and you probably really won't have to touch your gap too much. But if you want methanol, it's probably because you also have more boost already. So what happens is, because of the additional boost, there's so much pressure in your cylinders that it actually is making it hard for your spark plugs to ignite. So that's why you need a smaller gap to give your ignition a chance to jump across the diode. I forget what the other part of it is, but that's why you need to change the gap. And it's easy to do. I don't remember if I showed exactly how to do that. I know what I do, and you shouldn't do this, but I do it just because I can do it by feel. I put them into, like, let's say the gap's too big, I'll put it into a vise and I'll just slightly tap it. I'll slightly crimp on it just a little bit just to get the gap to be smaller, and then I'll widen it out and I'll get it just right. I'll use like a feeler gauge, but they have a tool that actually has a feeler gauge that you can put the spark plug in, and you just crank down on it and it'll stop the gap where you want it, and you won't break the spark plug, and it won't hold the what is that called, the porcelain. Spark plugs are made of porcelain, so it won't crack the porcelain. What's up, Silent? What else? Let's see. Let me check Discord, see if I had any car questions in here. I know in Discord I usually throw up video games and movie questions, because we all love cars, but sometimes just talking about cars all the time gets a little boring. So I like to get to know people, see what they like. Oh, there you go, Trav. Oh yeah, you know what? My gap may have actually been 0.022. I can't remember. Only because when I did it, it was probably 8 months ago, and I haven't had to touch it since. But yeah, you're right, 22 to 24. Let's see. I want to check some of my live stream or my Discord questions. Yeah, a lot of it was about movies and stuff. I know I had some. I think I asked one question. What was your favorite engine What was your favorite engine that doesn't exist anymore? I think that was one of the questions, but I want to find everybody's answers. Let's see. Oh, here we go. I go cars you used to see every day that you don't, but are still really cool. That's a fun subject. Let's see. Truck world. Are you gonna put a better flowing exhaust on your blue Cruze? Yes. I want to. So I have to watch how I do it, just because I am a target now for the EPA. Everything I'm doing to my car. So its last dyno run was 255 horsepower and 241 foot-pounds of torque or something like that. But it also had a problem. I had that boost wall that I hit. Um, so my next, with the methanol, fixing the boost. Now the car makes boost without having any problems. Um, um, Getting the air fuel ratio where I need it with methanol, having the 100% meth to give the car more power. I should be able to get over 300 wheel horsepower on this car. So that's what I'm going to find out in the next dyno runs. That's my goal. To get to the next level, let's say I want to get up to 400, I'm going to have to do exhaust modifications. There's just no way around it. But what I have done to the car now is all 100% legal. Everything done to the car is done without having to take any emissions related stuff off the car. I even have a carb intake on it. There's a lot of stuff on the car. That's what people don't realize, right? I'm getting that horsepower, but my car is as quiet as a Cruze can be. So a lot of other people, like, they're cutting catalytic converters out, they're adding a downpipe, and they're sticking their exhaust through the hood. I mean, they're doing so much to give their car more power. And the reason I do it like that is a louder car doesn't mean a faster car. In some cases, cutting your exhaust off and taking out cats might actually make a car slower, because if you're not tuned, the car's not going to run correctly sometimes. So, so what caused? Oh wait, let me catch up on questions here. All right, so I'm running .023 on E, and the car runs like a dream. Yeah, that's good. Let's see, Augustine. I'm sorry. Does it affect throttle response at all? Can you clarify what you're asking about? You're talking about the methanol, or you're talking about having the stock exhaust? And then, and what caused my boost wall? So on my car, I do have a video on it too, if you want to do this to your car, if you have the same one. So on a 2016 and a half to 2019, the gas pedal is finicky on that car. So you would think when your foot is off the throttle that there's a percentage set to keep the car idling. So let's call it 10%, right? Let's say the pedal is set at a certain spot to keep the car idling. Then when you're full throttle, you would think, that's 100%, right? Then in between, you think it's a variation of 20 to 90%, right? You figure if you're halfway, it's 50%. On the Chevy Cruze, when you're full throttle, it's only like 85%, and when you are off throttle, it's like 20. It's a weird pedal. So what was happening was, I would drive the car and I would go full throttle. The car would go very lean. I would hit it would hit 20 psi, then bounce between like 15 to 20, then it would get stuck at like 21. It would get really weird. But then I noticed after a while, whenever I would lift the pedal, not fully 100%, but like let's call it 90% of the way down. Like my foot's 90% of the way down, not the percentage on the pedal, but my actual foot. All of a sudden, the boost came back, car ran great. So I modified the pedal, but there's also an adjustment you can make that other people have made, and it actually fixed the car. I didn't know that when I did that other people are having these boost problems, so I fixed that. And now instead of me, like, the car's capable of 30 psi, but what would happen is it would make 30 psi, and then most of the time it would kept hitting a boost wall at like 20. Now it makes a steady like 25, 26 psi, no problem. It just stays, no problem. Car has plenty of power, and I'm just going to stick there for now for the next dyno run, just to see what the car does. Let's see. Well, my Cruze is cut out the muffler. Yeah, cutouts are good. I'm noticing too on like eBay, cutouts are becoming illegal too. I mean, technically any exhaust modification is illegal. So if you have it, great. I like them a lot. Like I know years ago, I would always, before I would do a full exhaust system, I would always do a cutout because I could always flip a switch and make the car quiet, because most of the time I like a quieter car. That's part of the reason my exhaust isn't done too. But the major thing is I just don't want to be a target. Let's see. The spark plugs. Does the smaller gap affect the feel? Oh, spark plugs. No. If anything, when you have more boost, it actually makes it better. It doesn't really change the throttle response, because the really it's the throttle body blade itself, and when the boost kicks in, that's going to give you your throttle response. Where this affects you is high up in the RPM range. So basically, if you're at, like, let's say if you're just cruising around, you'll never notice a spark plug gap. You'll never notice a difference, right? You're just cruising, maintaining speed. You'll never notice it. When you're full throttle, what ends up happening is it actually feels like you're running out of fuel pressure. So your car will hesitate a little bit, and then basically what you want to do is make the gap a little smaller, and then what happens is it actually takes that hesitation and that low fuel pressure feeling away and makes it feel normal again. So that's why you have to do that. Uh, it's really what's happening is all the fuel's not igniting, and you're actually, in theory, you might run rich. It's going to ignite it, but what's going to happen is there's delay on the explosion, so you're going to get pinging. You might end up getting ignition early, or you might end up getting ignition too late. Closing the gap just helps the timing. Let's see, how much boost should a first gen stock Cruze make? On average, a first gen stock Cruze I think only makes about 10 psi. And then, if you have an aftermarket wastegate, which I should have those on my website soon. So what I've been doing is I have wastegates on the site for Gen 2s. That basically, when you buy a wastegate, they come either unadjusted or in pieces, depending on what company you get. So what I do is I'll buy the wastegate for you, and I'll charge like a small labor charge, and I'll buy it for you. It comes in pieces. I'll set it up for the opening pressure. I'll set it up for the preload needed, and then I'll pressure test them, because a lot of people don't realize you can lose boost through your wastegate. And then I'll test the actual springs themselves. I'll test them out, and I'll get them to the point where I'm happy putting it on my own car, and then I'll ship that to you. I'm going to do the same thing for the Generation 1 guys, because I have a Generation 1 now, and I'm going to basically do the same thing I've been doing to this car. Side note, later on in life, I've been thinking about doing an engine swap to something else other than the Cruze engine. I just don't know which car I'd like to do that in. I don't know if I want to do it in the Gen 1 because it was cheap, or the Gen 2 because it's expensive. I don't know which one people would want to see more. But parts-wise, I'm going to have some Generation 1. I actually already have some Generation 1 parts on the site too. But anyway, stock Cruze, usually around 10 pounds. Aftermarket wastegate. This is my third Generation 1 Cruze, so I know what you can get out of it. I remember getting about 15 psi, and that was before I was really shooting for horsepower. I just like seeing boost numbers back then. But this Cruze is bought. It's a piece of junk. It needs a ton of work. So this time around, there's going to be repairs being made. Then we're going after boost. But I'm in the middle of putting an intercooler in it right now. So you guys have some. I have a couple people that I've been working with for Generation 1 guys. So I have a Generation 1 intercooler. I started putting my own in my car, but I've been so busy that I've just been shipping out intercoolers to people that I'm just getting feedback from everybody else about what they like or don't like about it. And so far it's been really good feedback, and everybody that's getting stuff from me has been happy with it on the Gen 1. Oh, Jeff, yeah, you. So Jeff was my first Gen 1 customer, and he, for a while I was basically going back and forth with him on his car, but what I was worried about was he could send me all the measurements in the world, but I really wanted to see for myself how my intercooler fit. So you know what? I just decided to just go out and get my own. So I bought my own Gen 1 Cruze, and now that I have that, I'm able to get pictures. I'm able to make sure things fit. And you know what? My original designs I changed to better designs, because now that I have the car in front of me, I can actually test stuff in my own car. So that was definitely a good idea. Let's see, Augustin. I think the Gen 2 has been a great car and has never shown any aftermarket love. Yeah, well, that's one of the reasons I started doing it. I'm a huge Cruze fan, and even though I might be, let's see, I've been in the Cruze world on YouTube for about 2 years, right? But I've been in the Cruze world, like basically making parts and working on these cars since 2014. That's when I got my first one. I had a 2013 Mustang GT convertible, right? Bought the car, got it home. I love the car. Realized how hard it was putting my kids in it, and I'm like, I'm an idiot. Why did I even buy this thing? It was an impulse buy. So I went to a Chevy dealer and I said, "What can you give me for?" I think it was like $200 a month. And they were like, "Oh, we can give you a Cruze with a sunroof or without." I said, "Give me the one without." Or I'm sorry, give me a Cruze with a sunroof. So my first Cruze, I bought sight unseen. I was like, whatever, just get me away from this Mustang. I was so mad. The Cruze, my first Cruze was 2014. It had the MyLink radio and a sunroof, and I added paddle shifters. It was a fun car. I loved it. So ever since then, I've just been enamored with Cruzes. Even though they're slow and people make fun of you who don't have one, I think they're great, and I could care less. You know what? My friends might make fun of me. Why you dumping money into a Cruze? I don't care. Because you know what? My Cruze now will actually beat some of my friends' cars that have V8, so kiss my butt. Alright, so let's see. I think... Augustin. Hopefully I'm saying your name right. I'm sorry if I'm not. With the BNR tune, what kind of boost numbers should you be seeing, like from OEM? If you have a working wastegate, and I say that because a lot of Generation 2 wastegates get weak at around 20,000 miles. I have a lot of people contact me for wastegates just because they go bad all the time. So with a factory wastegate that doesn't have a problem, you should see about, I want to say 18. But if you do a tune and you notice your boost numbers are like closer to like 13ish, it's probably because your wastegate is an issue. If you see, when I started my channel, my first video I ever did was like a short throw shifter, and then my second and third was like a free cold air intake and then tune the car. And a boost sensor, right? So like those were my first few videos. The editing is awful. It was my first crack at YouTube. But what you'll see is before and after the tune, the difference in the car. You'll see once I put the boost gauge in, I think I was reading back then like 12 pounds. Then you'll see that I changed my wastegate, and then all of a sudden I was getting like 15, 16 pounds. And then I got a tune, and then I upgraded the wastegate, and then I got up to like 20 pounds. Like it's a process, but you could actually, if you have a boost gauge, you can watch your boost rise as you make changes. My friend has a first gen Cruze, and the turbo's bad, and it makes 15, and it's not modified. If the turbo's bad, it could be maybe his wastegate is sticking, or I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but I've had enough first gens to know that I'm usually, in the past, I always saw factory and no modifications whatsoever around 10 from the factory. There is a chance that his car may have a tune in it, and he might not realize it too. Maybe that's why it has more boost. Or his what could be happening, since his turbo's having a problem, his diverter valve could be sticking too. There could be a few reasons for that. What makes him think it's bad too, by the way? Is it smoking or making any funny noises? Truck World. Oh, sorry. I'll talk to you later, man. Have fun at work. Yeah, I swapped it out for a month. Yeah, there you go. Okay. So when... Oh, wait. So you're saying your friends is making 15 to 20 with an aftermarket wastegate? You put that on his car or on your car? What year is your car? Do you have a Gen 1 Cruze? Oh, wait a minute. I'm reading two different people's. Hold on. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I swapped it out for a month. Where did I miss that? BNR tune. Oh, you're asking about Gen 2. Oh, yeah, okay. So, Augustin, if you have the aftermarket wastegate with a tune, you can set the preload to see on average about 22 psi easily. I do have to say, if you're running your boost numbers up, just be mindful that if you're not paying attention to air-fuel ratios and not paying attention to how much boost you're squeezing down your engine's throat, you could cause problems. But a safe tune would be like, or a safe boost numbers would be like 18 to 22 ish. But at the same time, you want to watch running your boost up too, because, well, again, these engines are really great for telling you if there's an underboost or an overboost code. So even if you were doing something the engine doesn't like, if you have the initial bad news racing tune, it will tell you something is wrong, which is nice. Now my tune that I currently have in the car now is like tune number 10 or something. So there's a lot of stuff that's been changed around to help the car breathe better and produce power. But I'm going into it knowing that I I like to tinker and I like to test stuff. So I'm going into it knowing that I could potentially have a problem down the road. So for me, 25 to 30 pounds of boost doesn't bother me. I'm going into it knowing there could be problems later. But again, that's why I have methanol. Let's see. Starting to lose my voice a little bit, guys. So, what is this? Let's see, Augustin. The Cruze I have is a 2017. It had 6,000 miles on it. And you bought it like 6 months ago. Oh, wait, I bought it like, oh, you've had it for 6 months. Yeah, that's a nice buy too. Hopefully you didn't pay too much for it. Well, not too much, but hopefully you didn't pay COVID prices for it. That's a nice mileage. Fireworks, difficulty level of adding a wideband to a second gen. It's not hard. If you use the same one, if you go to my wideband video, there's a link to the same one I used, and actually a link to another one that's a different color. Really, it's like it's what I do is I take the power wire and the light wire and I tie them together, and I send those to a switch source, and then you have your ground, and then you have the harness that goes out to the exhaust. If you have an automatic, there's a rubber where the clutch pedal linkage would go through. You could just use that same opening to run the harness through, and then you can drill a hole and then just vacuum out or use a magnet to catch all the debris from getting in your downpipe. Or actually, if you have a downpipe, you might want to take it off because all that debris will come out the bottom, or just take the bottom pipe off so you can blow it out. You're going to drill a hole and you're just going to weld a little bunge onto it. If you go to a welder or an exhaust shop, if you take it off and bring it to them, they'll probably only charge like $50 to do the welding, or if you have a local welder. But that's the only hard part, is getting that little bunge in the exhaust. So a wideband, you're in the Discord, so you definitely see the conversation. So we were going back and forth with people who have like an OBD plugin that reads air-fuel ratio. The problem with those air-fuel ratio gauges that are OBD plugin is they only show you what the car wants. They don't show you what the car is actually making. So you'll see the correct air-fuel ratio all the time. The problem is that's what the car's commanding. Your air-fuel ratio might not be correct. So the wideband is actually checking what's in the exhaust, and it's letting you know the real air-fuel ratio. So that's why I like running those. Let's see. With the tune, it won't trip an overboost? Well, technically no, because the tune's going to be adjusted for a little bit more boost, but if you have too much, you can still get an overboost. So that's why I say if you're going too crazy with it, it will usually let you know if you're overboosting, especially if your preload's incorrect. That's usually why you get an overboost code, is your preload is wrong. Let's see. I am just looking to liven. I think you meant liven up the Cruze a little bit. Yeah, I was too. To be honest with you, I would have stopped with the intercooler. I wouldn't even gone big turbo actually with my car, but I have a YouTube channel and I sell parts, so I don't want to. First of all, my YouTube channel would be very boring if all I ever did was drive the car and that was it all the time. And my parts, I don't like selling anybody anything that I'm not testing for myself. So I wanted to have a big turbo. I wanted to see what my intercooler did with a big turbo, how the preload worked with the wastegates. Like I wanted the catch can system. I have an actual working blow-off valve. I wanted to test all the stuff in my own car with a big turbo, so I knew what would happen. And when you guys want it for your car, I already know what's going to happen before I even give it to you. So that's why I did that. Let's see. Jeff, you said, I've been putting money into mine because it's 2014 with low mileage, no issues. Yeah, people usually knock the Cruze. It's funny. I see a lot of people who knock the Cruze and they complain about its reliability. Then I see like the same people like, oh, oil changes are so expensive, I wait till 25,000 miles to change my oil. And it's like, oh, well, no wonder why your Cruze has problems. You're not maintaining it properly. As long as you take care of the car and you fix the key things like wastegate and like the plastic cooling system parts that always break, just changed a few pieces, and the cars are very reliable. Hey, Fopiano, how are you? I love that you come in during work. You know, I was trying to do those 7 o'clock live streams, and I was always tired doing them because I wanted to get people after work. But I noticed that more people come on while they're at work, so that's why I have no problem doing it during the day. And I'm happy to see you. Thank you for popping in. What's up, A Big Brain? I try to stick to everybody's screen names, even though I know your real names. Truck World, have a nice day. Travis, mine was tuned around 31,000 miles and it still ran good at 100,000. Yeah, it's true. And you actually pushed, you had this smaller big turbo and you pushed that car pretty good. I think I remember seeing footage of you hitting like 28 psi full throttle, and that turbo was screaming, and it was happy to do it too. Unfortunately, your car met a fate. I think it was a guardrail or something. I forget what it was. What ended up happening to it. Um, yeah, your car was nice. In fact, you were one of the few people. You and another person do a lot of towing with your Cruze, and I thought it was great. I was thinking about doing in the Facebook group a My Cruze and Me series where it was you, all the different towing you would do with your car, which I thought would be fun. I hope you get something else that's. I know GM has this new 3-cylinder. It's like a 1.3 liter. Oh, a deer and a guardrail. Sorry to hear that. Man, deer can do some really crazy damage to a car. My wife, in I want to say November, she was driving. A deer jumps, literally driving past trees. A deer jumps out. She didn't even see that, like it just came out. She hits it. It flies up in the air, and it was so heavy that it caved in the roof of her truck, like caved it in like a V. It was crazy. Windshield smashed. The truck was caved in. It was nuts. All the stuff on the roof, like all the accessories that are in the middle of the roof, like all came down. It was a crazy hit. But that deer, I guess they're just solid muscle and bone. They're a hard hit. It's like hitting a rock. Let's see. What was I just? I lost my train of thought. I was thinking about deer. Yeah. So one of the subjects that I had in my the live stream subjects in the Discord server was fun. I put in there cars that you used to see every day that you don't, but they're still really cool. For me, one car that always comes to mind is an Acura Integra Type R. You know, back when I was in high school, I used to make fun of cars like that, but now that I'm older, I love those cars. That was the kind of car that you didn't realize had upper and lower A-arms. Sometimes some of them came in 4-wheel drive. You can get that Honda engine to 600 horsepower nowadays easy. And it's amazing because in overseas those cars were race cars, and over here they were just gas mileage cars, economy cars. I didn't realize how amazing those cars were. Let's see. I love towing with it. Yeah, that was cool. You did a lot, and not only were you towing, you were towing a lot of heavy stuff too. You definitely needed that turbo. Let's see. The Cruze after those parts changed, it's like the Corolla of Chevrolet would have killed. Yeah. If Chevy came out with an SS version of the Cruze, I think it would have done quite well. In fact, I think the only reason it was cut off. Well, there's two reasons. One is General Motors basically said, "Oh, we're doing all electric cars, so they're going to come out with an electric version." And then the other reason was the plants that were building these cars, like the original Cruze, is a Holden. So just like the GTO, the G8, the Chevy SS, the Caprice PPV, those are all imported from Australia. So the Cruze also was. People don't realize that the Cruze is also a Holden. So, so the plants shut down. So then they started using another company to help produce this car, which is sort of a mix between like I think it's an Astra and the Holden cars. So that's kind of what this version is. You know what, Matt? Are you still in here? Give me a second. Matt, I don't remember how to say your last name. Oh, Chevalier. Are you still in here? I was curious. I wanted to see how you were doing too. I didn't see you pop up at all on the in the chat, but I saw you once. How have you been, by the way? I haven't talked to you in a while. Hey, how are you, Matthew? Too. Wait, that's not the same Matthew. How are you? Matthew Daffern. Hopefully, I said your name right. How are you doing too? Yeah. So subjects for me. Um, so cars that really aren't on the road anymore that are awesome. Something like the other day I was driving. Now I have a GTO, like a two. I have a 2005. I saw somebody rocking a mint 2004 GTO the other day, and I was so excited to see that car. You never see those on the road. I don't know about where you guys are and what state you're in, but a GTO is incredibly rare. I mean, a GTO was rare even when they were new. Um, to let alone see one that's in mint condition. Some of these GTO guys, that they buy these cars. Some of them they'll go out and spend $40,000 on one that's got like 2,000 miles on it. So and they're usually not driven. They're treated like a Ferrari. Some of these cars. So to see one that's that clean, that nice, driving around and in yellow, and it sounded like it was a manual, that is incredibly rare. Good man. Finally got the Cruze running good. Oh, I didn't realize. Oh, Matt, I'm sorry. I didn't realize you changed. Hold on. I didn't realize you changed your. Oh. Oh, I got confused. I have two Matts in here. Right? You didn't change your name, right, Matt? Um, so yes, when I was in school at UTI, we hub dynoed a GTO. Oh, cool. Oh, let's see, a hub dyno GTO. If it's a 2004, I would imagine made about 275 wheel horsepower, and then if it was like 05, 06, it was probably like 325, I would think. Okay, yeah. So I have two Matts in here. Sorry about that. Matt Daffern, what year is your car? Got to go to the Holden Cookout here in Indy. Yeah, you know what? Fireworks. So I've been asked to go to, I've been asked to go to a couple Holden Cookouts because so I do. You guys know I have the Chevy Cruze big brake kit, but I also do the G8 big brake kit and the GTO big brake kit. So I have made a lot of. So before I started YouTube, I also was doing brake kits over the years. So I have 12 years worth of making friends with people in that world, and they all continuously ask me to go to LS Fest, the Holden Cookout, the one in Indy, and then there's another one. I don't know where the Indy one is exactly, but there's two of them that I always get asked to go to, and I'm so busy all the time I can never go. One of these days, I really want to just get in a car and I want to drive around and I just want to start. I want to start seeing everybody in person and I want to start going to these different cookouts and stuff. Maybe if I grow the channel enough and I grow the business enough, and I could actually have people working with me to do all this stuff, then I'll be able to go and actually see America and just meet everybody in person more. It'll be a lot more fun. It'd be cool if I got big enough to do like a Cletus in cars one day, but I don't know about that. But who knows? Maybe one day. 2018. That's a good year. You have the 2018 and 2019 have the supposedly a forged engine versus my car, which ironically my car's supposed to have the engine that has all the problems, and that's the one I'm putting power in, of course. Um, so you had a NOx sensor issue. Okay. Oh, you did change your name. Okay, sorry about that. I didn't realize that. Yeah. So the NOx sensor, if memory serves, it just ended up being the gas station you're going to, right? That was your car? Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. I'll check the messages later. I try not to check messages while I'm on a live stream because then I'll focus on the message and I won't talk for too long. So, guys, I've been at this for almost an hour. I'm starting to lose my voice. Is there anything you guys wanted to talk about before we start wrapping it up? What's up, Sophie? How are you? Yeah, it was a fuel. That's what I thought. So anytime I get an email or a question about knock, that's the first thing I tell somebody to do is change gas stations. Sophie, where are you from? Solid motor mounts. Cletus and Cars type of event. Yeah, you know what? A Cletus and Cars event, but with like not V8s. I wonder what that would be like. It'd almost be like what was that called? It was like hot import nights or something like that. Oh, Toronto. That's cool. So does Toronto? So I've been learning Canada a lot more lately, and my wife helps me ship stuff. I've been shipping a lot of stuff out to Canada because there's just performance shops in Canada are non-existent. And so Toronto is Toronto like above Michigan by the Great Lakes? I know. I try to visualize everything. I mean, there's a part of Canada that's like still very French too. I forget where that was, but it's really cool talking to everybody because I talk to some people in Canada and they speak English, and I talk to some people in Canada and they speak French, and I need to use a translator to talk to them. Oh yeah, above New York. That's what I thought. Yeah, yeah. I have a couple people I have a couple people actually in the next 2 weeks or so. I have some stuff going out there. Yeah, Canada is another place I'd like to visit too. I mean, I'd like to visit a lot of places. So if you're above New York, that means you pretty much get hit. So actually, in Toronto, is it colder most of the year than? I guess you wouldn't know because you're not in America. Oh, and Filipino. That's cool. So did you learn? Do you speak Filipino because there's like a Filipino community where you are in Canada, or did you move there from South America? Solid motor. In the meantime, I'll talk to A Big Brain. So yeah, no real names. So solid motor mounts is definitely a cool idea. I started looking into that. Oh, you were born. Oh, cool. Oh wait, so you born? You were born in Canada or South America? Sorry guys, all my social medias are all going off. Oh, Philippines is Asian. Oh, oh, okay. I didn't know that. Well, I guess I could have probably known that. So the Philippines I thought was oh cool. So so do you so are you, so in Toronto? Oh, that's cool. So you grew up. See, that's the fun thing about. Sorry, I have a lot of messages coming in. I'm getting a little distracted. So that's the fun thing about a lot of things now is there's a lot of cultures are mixed together nowadays, which I think is great. Um, Hold on, a lot of questions. Sorry guys, let me get caught up. So the big brake kit, what pads and rotors are they? Well, everything's custom made. So if anybody has the big brake kit, just contact me if you need replacement stuff. But the rotors are a high carbon rotor. Those things are going to last a pretty decent time. They're not some off the shelf rotors that from like AutoZone that are going to warp in 6 months. Let's see. Are the big brake kits viable for someone who just wants a daily? Yes. So I just tested. Okay. All right. So you just asked, do they change the brake pistons? So on the Cruze, you only have 6 pistons total stopping the car, right? You have 2 in the front on one side, 2 in the front on the other side, 1 on each side in the rear. This kit adds 8 pistons in the front alone. And then I upgrade the pads and I upgrade the rotors in the rear, and then I also upgrade the type of metal, so you're getting a high carbon rotor. That's a very strong metal. And they're drilled and slotted, so it helps with cooling, and they're larger, so it helps dissipate heat. The larger diameter rotors give you more leverage for stopping. Um, so the so on a daily driver, for example, I tested the Cruze. When I use 35 miles an hour because that's the average speed people travel, and that's the average speed that like something will happen like a car going through a stop sign, someone blowing a red light, a kid running in the road, a kid using a remote control or a ball bouncing in the road. Like that's the speed that's going to happen. Deer jumping in front of you. So 35 miles an hour to zero. The car, the factory brakes stopped the car, I believe, in 37 feet. I have a video on it. So then I put just the front brakes on the car. No, I think I did front brakes and rear rotors, and I just reused my rear pads on my personal car, and it stopped the car from 35 miles an hour to zero in 16 feet. So using it as a daily driver, yeah, you definitely would like that on your car because the stopping distance went from basically being a school bus in length to basically shorter than the length of your own car. So big difference in braking. ironically, just this week I tested the stopping distance at 35 miles an hour for the G8. So the G8 base with the regular two piston calipers up front, single piston calipers in the rear, 35 miles an hour to zero when the brakes were cold was 56 feet. And then after they warmed up a little bit, it was 47 feet. That's like, what is that? Like a bus and a half in length. And then I tested my Chevy SS. So same 35 miles an hour to zero. My Chevy SS has my Chevy SS has four piston calipers in the front, four piston calipers in the rear, and 14-inch rotors. That car stopped in 27 feet. So there's definitely, like, I would much rather have 27 feet than 56 feet when it comes to, a 4,000-pound car. And on the Cruze, I would rather have a 16-foot stopping distance than a 37-foot stopping distance, even on my everyday driver. Who cares if their performance breaks? Stopping is important, especially if you're like me and you have a family with kids in the back. You definitely want to be able to stop your car. Sophie, let's see. Nah, me and Sharon, they told us to get. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Oh, did I miss another? Wait, me and Sharon, they told to get vaccinated if we leave Toronto. What do you mean? I'm sorry. Did I miss? I think I missed the question. My apologies. I missed the question. I don't see the first half of that question. Very sorry. So yeah, so when it comes with brakes, like, I know, like, let's say someone's not going to put out $5,000 for a supercharger or $2,000 for a big turbo and an intercooler, or $500-600 for methanol, right? But at the end of the day, that stuff won't put you in the hospital. What will put you in the hospital is going down the road and having someone fly through a stop sign, and then because your car can't stop adequately, boom, now your car's totaled. You have a financial burden, and then you and possibly some of your family are hurt because of it. So I've always been in the brakes, so whenever I build cars, literally the first thing I do is figure out how can I get big brakes on the car, and when I figure it out, you guys get you guys get reap the benefits, basically, because I'll figure out how to make it replicatable. The next thing I always do is suspension. So, oh, actually no, first it's brakes, then it's rims and tires, right? Because it kind of goes hand in hand, and then it's suspension. When I do all that, then I go after horsepower, because you want to make sure your car has a good foundation. And again, let's say you have an everyday vehicle where you go buy some wheels and brakes, right? And you decide down the road you want to sell the car. Well, hang on to your original wheels and brakes, because you can hang on to those, and when you get another vehicle, you can take those off and put those on another vehicle. Let's see. B. Just did pads and rotors on the hatch. Wish I could upgrade. The money truly aren't enough for the car. Yeah, the factory brakes really feel like no brakes to me. They you know what's funny? Driving the car every day, you feel like the factory brakes are not bad, right? But when you upgrade to my brakes, you when you see the braking difference, like, you're like, oh my god, you realize how bad the old brakes really were. And it's funny because I also have, like, I make brakes for the G8, the GTO, the Chevy Cruze, the Equinox, and the Mustang, right? So Mustang owners could care less about stopping their cars. Well, there's a reason that you see Mustangs crashed on Facebook pages constantly. Um, the Equinox, right? So I put up a post on, like, an Equinox group. Is anybody interested in big brakes, right? So the brakes are all custom made. So they are Brembos, but they're custom made for the car. There's really nothing you can grab off a shelf anywhere. Literally nothing. Uh, so the where I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. Oh, so, like, the Equinox people, they don't really want to upgrade their brakes because they think, oh, well, performance brakes are a waste of money on an Equinox. But they don't realize the Equinox takes, like, 35 miles an hour, and Equinox takes, like, almost 40 feet to stop. You definitely, and then when you put the big brakes on, you definitely slow them down. And then the same thing with, like, Mustang guys, right? So Mustang guys think, oh, it's too expensive. They'd rather save that money for more horsepower. Well, what's the point of not doing? So most Mustangs have like a solid axle, a really weak suspension in the rear, and they have like 6-cylinder brakes on their cars. But then they'll go put 400 horsepower, 500 horsepower in the car and wonder why they can't keep the car stable. Most of the time, they're not doing brakes and suspension, so that's why they run into those problems. Let's see, let's see, how many miles should we be getting out of OEM brakes? I'm at 131,000 on the original pads and rotors. Um, yeah, that's quite a lot. I would say, well, if it's the original pads and rotors, I would say, well, wait, are you, so, a big brain, are you the original? Did you buy it brand new? And then Jeff, that depends on the type of pads and rotors. Fopiano, yeah, you need good brakes on your cars because I know you go to the racetrack, so you definitely want something that can dissipate. You want on a racetrack. So if it's an everyday car, you want something with a big diameter rotor that's drilled and slotted, so it helps dissipate heat. You want a pad. This is where people make mistakes with pads. They usually put the wrong pads, so they get overheating from the pads. I usually use like a ceramic or a ceramic blend because it cuts down on noise and they cause more brake dust, but what they do is they actually stop the car better because they don't overheat. When you use like a real aggressive pad, you actually overheat everything to the point where you'll melt. You'll think about it. Your rotor's metal, but the seals in your caliper are rubber. So when you put an aggressive pad that produces more heat, then what happens is that heat goes into the rubber on the caliper before it messes up a rotor and end up melting calipers. So you definitely want the right combination. Yeah, Willwoods are good. Two-piece rotors are good. I have Willwoods on my Cobra. The only reason I have Willwoods on my Cobra is they're smaller and I had a small wheel. And plus, if I ever sell the Cobra down the road, Cobra guys are going to want to see Willwoods. But the only thing I don't like about Willwood is okay, their 6-piston caliper is about, oh, I think my signal just went lost. Sorry, everyone. Just kick back in? Oh, yeah, kick back in. Sorry about that. So, yeah, what was I saying? Oh, the only thing I don't like about Willwoods, right? My battery's about to die on my camera, by the way, so we might have to close up shop soon. So, for example, a 4-piston Brembo, realistically, is like the size of a 2-liter bottle of soda, right? A 6-piston Willwood is like 2 soda cans. So there's a big difference. So Willwood's good if you have a car like your Volkswagen, right? That has like the biggest wheel you're going to put on your Volkswagen might be a 17-inch rim. Well, it's kind of hard to fit big, bulky Brembo brakes on that car. You can get a nice Willwood setup that's offset deep. You don't have to get, a wheel set up for big brakes, and you can get Willwoods on a lot of cars, so that's nice. But changing, like the pads are tiny, they're like this big versus a Brembo 4-piston, Yeah, 17-inch. So on a 17 with a Willwood, you usually a 17-inch wheel, you can almost with Willwood still run sort of a deep dish wheel. But with a Brembo, because the calipers are so big and bulky, you need a rim that has a spoke that sort of is whatever. It has to bubble out to clear the caliper. I can't remember which direction it is. So that's the problem with like a Brembo setup. And a lot of times the larger Brembos, you need like an 18, sometimes a 19-inch wheel. Concave. So yeah, I couldn't think of it at first. But yeah, so the nice thing about Willwood is you can get much better braking on a small package, but the difference is usually if it's a smaller car, they're lighter anyway, so the Willwoods are very, very adequate and way better than OEM. But if you have something like a G8 that's 4,200 pounds, yes, they make a Willwood setup, but the Brembo would outperform it because it's just much larger, much bulkier. The pads are a 4-piston Brembo pad is about that big versus like a 4-piston Willwood pad, which is much smaller. It's just different animals. Yeah, Equinox. So I have an Equinox and a Cruze too. I actually just sold the Equinox. It's getting picked up tomorrow. I sold the Equinox so I could build the Black Cruze, my Generation 1. But so I made a bunch of parts for Equinoxes and people just didn't care. In fact, I made a couple videos on the YouTube channel. People they're not into the Equinox. Like when a Cruze, people are into the Cruze. There's a fan base. But there's no fan base for the Equinox, and if there is, it's so small, and those guys don't really care about lowering and adding big brakes and putting a supercharger on it. So, yeah, no, I do have brakes. If I could still do brakes for Equinoxes, I just don't have my own Equinox anymore. Let me know whenever you want to do that. Just keep in touch. You can go through my website. My website has different links, but
really davescustomparts.com, supercruises.com. You know, there'll probably be a link in this live stream. So if you ever want to get in touch with me, you know, or you can just email me at brembodave@gmail.com. Let me see. That's good to know. B, what do you think is better, first or second gen? Honest answer, a second gen with mods, a first gen stock. So a stock first gen I like a lot. A second gen needs a few modifications to feel like a good car. Both are awesome cars. I like them both. The second gen I think is like it's one of the nicest cars. If you put this second gen Cruze next to any other four-cylinder four-door car on the market, I think it's the sexiest looking four-door four-cylinder out there. The Generation 1 doesn't look as nice, but I think it's way more reliable. I think it has a nicer sounding engine. It has less space, so if you have a family, that's sort of what sucks about it. It's lighter, and I think you can. There's more information out there to get more power out of the first gen than there is the second gen, so I think there's more reliability in repairs. You know, so I'm a fan of both. If I had to stick with one car, I would be stuck with the second gen only because it actually fits the whole family. But if I were single and I just needed one car, if I were single and had one car and I wanted a four-cylinder, I'd go for a Gen 1. I hope that helps. I know it's sort of vague, but I like both and I have both, so that's why I answered that way. And yes, soccer mom wants cup holders and DVD players. Definitely not big brakes. Even though a lot of people have teenagers that are driving for the first time and they're driving an Equinox, which is why I came out with a brake kit. If you're putting your kid in an Equinox, yes, it will stop the same as your car, but I have a big brake kit and it'll stop that truck better. And that's what I was thinking about when I made the kit. I figured people were like, hey, I'm putting my kid in this thing. I want it to be safe. So, all right. So, everybody, I want to say goodbye. I've been talking for about an hour and 15 minutes. I'm starting to lose my voice. And I try to keep these things to about an hour because I know people like to watch these later on. Not everybody can do it at work. And I appreciate everyone showing up. You guys are great. The more I do these, the more people that come on. I'm going to try and do a live stream. I want to try and do 2 or 3 a month. I'm going to try my hardest. I was a little stressed in the last few months. I went for surgery. I had shingles for like 2 months. Then I went for surgery, so I was out of commission for like 3 months. And I was miserable because I went for surgery, and now that the swelling is stopped, the thing that they cut I had 2 spots in my leg they cut open, and the things they were supposed to take out are still there. And what's happening is either the doctor lied or they grew back. I have no idea. I've been miserable because of this doctor. And now the things in my leg are digging into the scars that have not healed. And my leg is killing me, and I've been miserable. And then now, you know, on top of working, being miserable because I'm in pain, and my son getting hurt, I've had a stressful couple months. So thanks for coming on the live stream. This is fun. I like getting in touch with everybody. I like seeing everybody. Thanks for everyone coming. And then one last thing, I just want to read this last message and then I'm going to say goodbye. My parents put me in a late 70s Oldsmobile station wagon. Awesome car. And it was an awesome car. Oh, I said awesome car at the same time I read it. And then it had a 402 cubic inch V8 and her rear seats folded down. That's a cool car. That would definitely be a fun car. One of my first resto mods I ever did was a 72 Oldsmobile convertible. It was baby blue with a white top with white leather. It was so cool. I love those cars. Thanks again, everybody. I really appreciate everyone coming here, and have a very nice day.